Joining us now to discuss, John Avlon, CNN senior political analyst, and Joseph Moreno, former DOJ prosecutor. Mike Rogers also with us, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Mike Rogers, let me just begin with you, because there are a number of Republicans, even allies of the president in the state of Illinois, 5 of them, I believe, yesterday, dismayed to see the commutation of the sentence for Blagojevich, and also the way the president explained it. Do you join them? Do you understand these?
Well, I was an FBI agent in Chicago and saw a lot of corruption cases pass through that office. And by the way, a lot of governors, both Republicans and Democrats, went to jail in that period. It was a strange time. So I do worry about the sending the message to a culture that is already inclined to believe that they're entitled to make a little extra money by being an elected official. And that just it concerns me when the president engages in that activity. I apparently didn't talk to a lot of folks about that. And remember, there are victims in these crimes. And boy, if you really want justice, remember the law prescribes one thing: justice sometimes is how that plays out in the court in the sentencing. That, to me, you have to take the victims under consideration in this.
Joseph Moreno, I mean, part of the issue here, right, is President Trump's personal involvement or tie to some of these people. Let's look at some of them. Some of them were folks, and even you saw the president there mentioned, he watched his wife on Fox News. That was part of the spark here. This applies to Eddie DeBartolo, Kraft, who's a friend of Trump. Roger Goodell pushed for him. Bernie Kerik, he praised Trump on Fox News. Angela Stanton praised Trump on Fox News. That's one list, but let's look at the other list of folks, Paul Pogue and Mike Milken, who contributed to the Trump campaign. Presidents have given pardons to contributors before. You mentioned Mark Rich, but we're in the midst of a campaign, re-election campaign by Trump. As a lawyer, is that problematic?
Well, look, no. I mean, legally, no. I mean, the president's pardon power is almost completely unfettered, short of it being corrupt. But I mean, without that link, I mean, the president has tremendous power to grant pardons. Usually ones this controversial are done at an 11th hour, usually in a lame duck session, not in the midst of, like you say, a campaign for all to see. But look, the president, no doubt, viewed his acquittal in his impeachment trial as a big win. And the pardons, the comments about Roger Stone, the other comments about his powers as the chief executive, he's doing a victory lap. I mean, he has seen that, like, basically the Democrats had their most powerful tool in their arsenal they used against him, and he's still standing, possibly stronger than ever.
John Avlon, to where this goes from here, right? If this is a victory lap, how many laps does he take, and how much more consequential do they become, right? President Obama's former Attorney General Eric Holder told the New York Times, quote, "The real test will be what does the president do with Stone, Manafort, and others who are directly connected to him and have the ability to provide information that is harmful for him." Do you agree with him? That's the real test?
Absolutely. And there's every reason to suggest that the pattern of pardons he's made, particularly with regard to political allies, forget the petitioning through Fox News, which itself is problematic because it goes around Justice Department guidelines. Look at the crimes he pardoned for corruption yesterday. Now, if you delineate them, corruption, abuse of power, tax fraud, wire fraud, obstruction of justice, perjury, they're all things that his political allies have been accused of doing. Some are currently in prison. So there's every reason to suggest that he is laying the groundwork for further pardons. And so when he says he hasn't even thought about pardoning Roger Stone, don't believe that for 1 second. That's what's so troubling about this. It's normalizing political corruption.
Mike Rogers, you're Republican congressman, and also, as you noted, you were an FBI agent. You were involved in putting people in jail who broke the law. For folks at home who have seen a lot of this stuff before, they're like, oh, is this just Trump being Trump again? How important is this? Is it different? Just explain what the worries are here in terms of use of the pardon and the commutation power.
Well, first of all, to me, it sends just a horrible message that if you're powerful, you have money, and you're connected, even though you participated in securities fraud, by the way, who served a sentence which I argue was appropriate. He served 2 years out of 9 years, probably the right sentence. That was justice, Mike Milken. And I would argue the message that you send by saying, no, we're going to wipe that crime away, and now, by the way, you can re-engage into the market activity like he was prohibited before. To me, that just sends a terrible message. I mean, white-collar crimes are hard enough. They're hard to prosecute, hard to find. hard to make sure that these cases come together appropriately so you could get a guilty verdict. And so when you do this, it just, to me, it just sends exactly the wrong message. And can I just say the other problem with this is there are some sentence guidelines problems and issues with the Justice Department, and I say that as a guy who put people in jail, that we need to make sure that it's appropriate and it's not emotional and it doesn't have political bias as, a heavy sentence for someone because you don't like them kind of a thing. This, I argue, makes those kind of discussions harder in the future. I think this hurts the cause where I think Trump thinks he's trying to go with this.
Look, I mean, the head of the Illinois State Legislature actually just repeated the line that Mike just said. This sends a terrible message. The Republicans in Illinois are furious about this. And it's not because Blagojevich is a Democrat. It's because he was corrupt. And it sends a terrible message about corruption. And for all those Republican senators who argued during the impeachment trial that President Trump was simply trying to take a strong stand out of corruption, I mean, that was absurd at the time, but it's blatantly an insult to any integrity they have now if they actually believe that. Because this isn't about, draining the swamp. This is restocking the swamp. Don't mistake it.
I sense a reality check coming. Joseph, Chairman Rogers brought up Mike Milken, billionaire, obviously, who can now go back to these practices he was barred from before. But beyond that, is there anything that is legally stopping him now from turning around and using those funds to massively help the president get reelected?
Well, I mean, the short answer is no. I mean, no, he's free to do with his money as he wishes. I did read that I think he will still be barred from the securities industry. I think that bar still stays in effect.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
we'll check.
But no. I mean, other than that, he's free and clear. I mean, the pardon is expunged. He served his sentence, and certainly he can use his money as he wishes. And so.
Yes or no, the president claims to be the nation's senior law enforcement official. You're a lawyer, served for a number of years in the Justice Department. True or false?
I chuckled when I heard that. I mean, we usually use that term to describe the Attorney General or maybe the FBI director, right? I mean, look, Article 2 of the Constitution. I mean, all executive power is vested in the president. It's a massive amount of authority, and it's why it's so important when we elect a president, we elect a person who understands how to wield that authority, when to wield it, when to delegate it, when to talk, when to be quiet. And so I think voters have a very clear picture here of whether they want this, this pattern to continue further beyond November. I mean, or basically say, look, we've had enough.
This is the problem with an imperial presidency. This is the problem with the unitary executive, whatever theory you want to apply, because character does matter. But if you have a president who doesn't believe that character matters, he can be capable of a great deal. It's why checks and balances are matter. It's why the erosion of those principles is so dangerous to the republic.
No question.
Thanks
to all you guys.
Yeah. Important conversation. Mike Rogers, John Avalon, Joseph Moreno, we appreciate you.